You earned $23 on that last DoorDash run. The app said it took 41 minutes. What the app did not say is that you burned a gallon and a half of gas getting there and back. At $4.14 a gallon, that is $6.21. Gone before you even count the wear on your brake pads. This is not a motivational video. I am not a financial advisor. I do not have a license to tell you what to do with your money. What I do have is a calculator and a set of public data sources that most gig platforms would prefer you never sit down with. So that is what we are going to do. We are going to track every dollar you think you earned last week and find out where it actually went. And this is where most people stop doing the math. The national average price of regular unleaded gasoline hit $4.14 per gallon as of the 10th of April, 2026, according to AAA's daily fuel gauge report. A year ago, the same report showed $3.21. That is a 29% increase in 12 months. The direct catalyst, according to Reuters and the Energy Information Administration, is the ongoing US-Israeli military engagement with Iran, which pushed Brent crude above $109 a barrel in late March, before pulling back to around $98 in early April as ceasefire talks resumed. Before the conflict escalated in late February, Brent was sitting around $71, but the gas station receipt is just the first layer. The gig economy runs on gasoline the way a restaurant runs on propane. It is not a side cost. It is the cost. And nobody handing you an offer on the DoorDash app is required to tell you what that offer looks like after fuel. So I went looking for the numbers myself, Gridwise, a platform that tracks earnings data from over 115,000 DoorDash drivers across 19 apps. Published its 2026 pay analysis based on 2025 data. The median gross hourly pay for a DoorDash driver was $11.26. For Uber Eats, $14.07 gross, based on over 101,000 tracked drivers. These are the numbers before anything comes out, before gas, before taxes, before the oil change, before the tires, before the insurance rider you may or may not be carrying. I was not expecting the gap between gross and net to be this wide at all. Let us build the cost stack, one layer at a time, starting with fuel. A typical delivery driver in a mid-size market reports driving between 40 and 60 miles in a 4 to 5 hour shift. I will use 50 miles as the baseline. That is conservative. At $4.14 per gallon in a car averaging 27 miles per gallon. That is 1.85 gallons per shift, cost $7.66. Now layer 2. The IRS published its 2026 standard mileage rate on the 29th of December, 2025. According to IRS Notice 2026-10, it is 72.5 cents per mile for business driving. That number is not arbitrary. The IRS calculates it based on average variable costs of operating a vehicle, including fuel, maintenance, tires, and depreciation. 50 miles at 72.5 cents comes to $36.25 per shift in total vehicle operating cost. Not just gas, everything. And here is where the math started to bother me, because that $36.25 is the IRS's own estimate of what it costs you to drive those 50 miles. But a DoorDash driver working a 4-hour shift at the national median gross of $11.26 an hour earned about $45 gross. Subtract the full vehicle cost, and you are at $8.75 for 4 hours of work. That is $2.19 an hour before taxes. Nobody posts that number on the driver recruitment page. Everyone just sees the 45. Now the third layer, this is the one that turns a bad number into a broken one. Gig drivers are classified as independent contractors. They receive a 1099 NEC, not a W-2. According to the IRS, the self-employment tax rate is 15.3% of net earnings. That covers both the employer and employee portions of Social Security and Medicare. A W-2 employee only pays 7.65% because their employer covers the other half. A gig driver pays both halves. So let us take that $8.75 per shift and apply self-employment tax. 15.3% of 875 is $1.34. That leaves $7.41 for a 4-hour shift. $1.85 an hour after vehicle costs and self-employment tax. Using the IRS's own numbers, it feels like running on a treadmill that someone quietly set to a slight incline 6 months ago. You are working just as hard. You are sweating more. You are not getting anywhere faster. Follow me on this for a second because what I found next made the whole picture worse. Most personal auto insurance policies do not cover commercial delivery activity, according to MoneyGeek's 2026 analysis. Adding a rideshare or delivery endorsement to your policy costs between $6 and $30 a month. A full commercial policy for food delivery drivers can run $150 a month or more based on recent industry surveys. If you are doing gig work 4 days a week and carrying the endorsement at the low end, that is an additional $6 a month or roughly 38 cents per shift. If you are carrying a full commercial policy, that is $9.38 per shift. Most drivers I found in forums are carrying neither. They are driving uninsured for the commercial portion of their activity. That is not a cost they are saving. That is a liability they are hiding from themselves. And every platform with a driver recruitment pipeline has a structural incentive to never bring this up. They do not make money when you do the real math. They make money when you see the $45 and tap accept. Now, here is the part that should break your brain. Let us put a real face on this. Their name is Reese. 27 years old, lives in Columbus, Ohio, works a full-time warehouse job, making $18 an hour. Started doing DoorDash on weeknights and weekends 7 months ago to pay off a $7,200 credit card balance. Drives a 2017 Honda Civic with 94,000 miles on it. No rideshare endorsement on the insurance. Averages 4 hours a night, 4 nights a week. Reese's DoorDash app says total earnings over 7 months. $8,900. That looks like progress. That looks like the credit card is almost gone. But Reese drove roughly 5,600 miles doing deliveries over those 7 months. At 72.5 cents per mile, the IRS puts total vehicle cost at $4,060. Self-employment tax on the net of $4,840, $741. Reese did not set that aside. The quarterly estimate deadline passed. Reese did not know there was a quarterly estimate deadline. So the real net after vehicle costs and self-employment tax is $4,099. Over 7 months, that is about $146 per week, or roughly $9.13 an hour for the driving time alone, not counting the 10 minutes between orders spent sitting in a Walgreens parking lot refreshing the app. And the Civic now has 94,000 miles plus 5,600. It is closer to the 100,000 mile service interval, which typically runs between $800 and $1,200 for timing belt, spark plugs, and transmission fluid. Reese has not budgeted for that by any reasonable standard. Reese did exactly what every personal finance influencer says to do. Got a side hustle, worked extra hours, sacrificed evenings. And the net result after the math nobody told Reese to run is less than half of what the app screen promised. The Civic does not know it is a business vehicle. It just knows it is aging faster. Let me walk you through the annual picture because this is where the layers collapse into one number. A driver working the DoorDash median in a mid-size market, 4-hour shifts, 4 nights a week, 52 weeks a year. Gross earnings based on Gridwise's 1126 median, roughly $9,368. Total miles driven, approximately 10,400 IRS vehicle cost at 72.5 cents, $7,540. Net before tax, $1,828. Self-employment tax at 15.3%, $280. Net after C-tax, $1,548. Let me run that again slowly. Person drives 10,400 miles, earns $9,368 gross, spends 72.5 cents per mile in real vehicle costs, pays 15.3% self-employment tax on what is left, takes home $1,548 for an entire year of weeknight and weekend driving. That is $1.86 per hour. The federal minimum wage is $7.25. This is below it. And gig workers are not covered by minimum wage protections because they are classified as independent contractors. But the math works the same, whether gas is $4 or $3. The cost structure eats the profit margin at any fuel price. The gas spike just makes the wound visible. There is one more layer, and it sits underneath everything else. It is the one nobody in the gig economy wants to audit in public depreciation. The IRS mileage rate of 72.5 cents per mile includes a depreciation component of 30 cents per mile. According to published IRS rate breakdowns for 2026, that is built in. It accounts for the fact that every mile you drive reduces the resale value of your vehicle. Over 10,400 miles in a year. That is $3,120 in depreciation alone that the IRS attributes to your driving. That depreciation is real. According to AAA's 2025, your driving cost street UDI. The average cost to own and operate a new vehicle is $11,577 per year, or about 77 cents per mile at 15,000 miles. For a used car like Reese's 2017 Civic, the per mile cost is lower, but the risk is higher because the maintenance events get larger and less predictable as mileage climbs. So here's the question. When Reese opened the DoorDash app 7 months ago and saw earn up to $25 per hour, what was included in that calculation and what was left out? The answer, according to every data source I pulled, is that the gross figure on the app screen includes nothing. No fuel, no maintenance, no depreciation, no insurance, no self-employment tax, no quarterly estimated payments. No 100,000-mile service bill waiting at the end of the road. The number is a mirage. It looks like income from a distance. Up close, it is a transfer of vehicle equity from your car to the platform's revenue line. Your side hustle has a margin, and right now, at $4 gas, the margin on a median DoorDash shift is this. You trade 4 hours of your evening, 50 miles of your car's life, and $7 in fuel for $1.85 an hour in real take-home pay. $1.85, 1 hour, that is not a side hustle. That is a subsidy you are paying to a platform with a $66 billion market cap. Using your car as the collateral, you are not bad at making money. The margin was never yours to begin with.